At 01:40 am on October 6, 2025, in occupied Feodosia, a lone crewman on a 900-foot Russian tanker checked a mooring line, unaware he was being watched. 155 miles away, inside a dark Ukrainian bunker, an operator tracked him on thermal view, not merely observing, but piloting the lead drone in a swarm racing across the Black Sea at 100 miles per hour. This moment launched the final phase of a 96-hour trap. Russians believed the tanker was untouchable. An Admiral Grigorovich-class frigate with frigate M2M3D radar cast a 124-mile detection bubble. Closer in, a Panzer S-1 shield spat fire relentlessly, convinced nothing could break through its umbrella. Operators calmly shredded decoy drones, certain they controlled the sky, but Russia built defenses for brute attacks, not a mission rooted in patience and math. Ukrainian intelligence had tracked the tanker's schedule for weeks, preparing the stage for a surgical strike with chilling discipline. A single AQ-400 scout drone shadowed the tanker for 466 miles, streaming pinpoint coordinates via Starlink. Ukraine didn't resist the punishing 25-mile-per-hour headwind they used it. Flying low and slow kept the swarm beneath radar horizon, a calculated gamble demanding precision and nerve. The masterstroke was timing. They waited, letting the 900-foot tanker dock, turning its fuel-packed hull into a massive shield that blocked Russia's ground radar, the prized asset becoming its own downfall. Stakes were massive. Feodosia fed over half of Russia's southern front. Destroying it meant fuel starvation, tanks idle, war machinery stalled. But success required flying straight into a live Panzer kill zone while headwinds drained batteries. Survival and victory hung on timing, skill, and relentless focus. Power wasn't the weapon, strategy was. Russia's defenses and the tanker itself became vulnerabilities. The instant the ship moored, Ukraine triggered the operation without hesitation. Phase 1 ignited. Moments later, Laika 100 decoy drones launched forward, loud, obvious, built to scream across radar, dragging Russian attention skyward, away from threats skimming just above the waves. While Russians tracked the decoys, the true strike force crept beneath them. Attack drones flew just 50 feet above water, using the 900-foot tanker like a skyscraper shield. Russia's Nebo M radar, a multi-million-dollar eye, went blind in the one direction that mattered. Every piece aligned. Decoys up, radar blocked, drones advancing in sync via Starlink, yet the mission balanced on a knife's edge. A wind shift, a sharp-eyed sailor, one lucky radar echo, all could ruin everything. At 01:42 am, the Russian operator heard the flawless tone of a perfect lock missiles moments from launch. Missiles roared from launch tubes, vaporizing 4 Laika decoys. To Russia, it looked clean and controlled textbook defense. Confident, the operator reached to log the kills. Then icons burst across his screen, new contacts inside the defense zone, rising from the tanker's shadow. Horror hit. He wasn't the hunter, he was bait. At the same moment, 155 miles away, chaos struck Ukraine's feed. Fierce Black Sea winds slammed the drone's nature, not jamming, ripping them off course. Formation shattered. Then they saw fuel hoses connected the tanker pumping fuel. The mission shifted from precise strike to volatile, explosive risk instantly. A tanker actively pumping fuel meant the battlefield had changed. A strike now would trigger a massive blast, a floating bomb igniting on contact, turning precision plans into chaos instantly. One catastrophic fireball would generate violent shockwaves and boiling updrafts, blinding the remaining drones. The first strike would doom the rest, forcing Ukraine into an agonizing choice under extreme pressure. They faced a brutal dilemma: hit the tanker for a guaranteed kill but sacrifice the mission or wait, and risk losing the entire swarm to Russian defenses tightening by the second. Panic surged, then discipline returned instantly. With a single command, activate Vels, everything shifted. The swarm didn't return to its path. Instead, drones pivoted 90 degrees, abandoning direct flight and changing the fight with one maneuver. Flying sideways cut their closing speed almost to zero on radar, slipping nearly invisible through the Panzer's Doppler filter, defeating technology by altering physics, not firepower. The Velis command unleashed an onboard AI, running millions of calculations in seconds, tracking battery drain, drone drift, and threat vectors, rebuilding a collapsing mission with cold precision. It reached a ruthless conclusion. Hitting the tanker first would blind the entire swarm. So it ignored the most valuable target, choosing strategy over spectacle to save the mission. The AI reassigned priorities: target the pumping stations first, cut the flow, remove ignition risk, then destroy everything. It transformed an explosive trap into a controlled battlefield. On Russian screens, targets vanished. Unable to explain the maneuver, the operator called for the only answer: eyes in the sky, a platform that sees heat, not radar traces. High above the Black Sea, the A-50 AWACS watched like a god, hunting heat signatures, immune to radar tricks, ready to expose every drone glowing in infrared. The AWACS fed precise coordinates to an S-400 battery, a weapon that didn't need to see, only to follow heat. A missile launched, a Silver Spear accelerating to Mach 4. In the Ukrainian bunker, an alarm flashed. SAM launch detected. The operator had under 8 seconds, no running, no hiding, only one chance to survive. Calmly, he hit a key. An ALE-50 decoy pod deployed, dragging a burning lure that screamed in infrared. The missile veered, chasing heat, and detonated harmlessly far off target. The entire mission, the terminal's fate, and the crew's safety hung on seconds. The operator stayed focused, knowing speed meant survival against a missile closing fast in that moment under pressure. He didn't run or panic. Instead, his hands moved with practiced calm. He tapped a single command, deploying an ALE-50 decoy pod from the drone's rear. The small device unfurled on a fiber-optic tether, built to imitate the drone's heat signature but far hotter, drawing the incoming missile's eye like a blazing lure in the night above black water, dark violently. The decoy burned at 8 to 100 degrees, twice the drone's heat, screaming across the infrared spectrum. The S-400 locked on, abandoning the real target to chase the hotter ghost trailing behind through raw instinct built into its deadly design circuitry. The missile veered violently toward the decoy and detonated hundreds of yards away, a flash tearing open the sky harmlessly. Velis had already mapped its origin and trajectory, turning the missile's launch point into fresh coordinates for a hidden strike team lurking patiently nearby and waiting silent. Russian operators watched in disbelief as their unstoppable weapon failed. Before they could reload, alarms blared again. Danger now raced toward them with no time left to react or breathe properly, fearfully. The S-400 had been tricked, and Ukraine pivoted to strike.
Forward.
Every Russian defense had been countered, leaving the pumping station exposed, vulnerable to precision drones now moving freely forward. The path was open. At 01:47 a.m., the order came from Kyiv. Fire. The lead FPV drone peeled away, locking onto the primary pumping station, the reinforced concrete heart of the fuel network feeding Russia's southern war machine with unbroken intent precision. Its PG-7V warhead, weighing 2.6 kilograms, didn't drop blindly. It hunted coordinates with ruthless accuracy. The warhead slammed into the housing 3 feet from the intake valve, striking with a crack like lightning at point-blank range, built to pierce, before unleashing its destructive core, straight through dense concrete, under immense pressure conditions engineered perfectly deliberately. Its fuse waited 1.1 seconds, a surgical delay. The warhead burrowed first, then erupted, focusing molten copper into a needle-thin jet traveling over 18,000 miles per hour. The pump shattered instantly, yet fuel still surged through the pipeline for a brief heartbeat. Pressurized momentum, turning rupture into explosive spray, primed to ignite in violent fiery chaos across steel confines beneath darkness overhead relentlessly. Fuel burst outward under pressure, atomizing into a fine mist. A deadly cloud hung in the air, a spark away from turning the port into a furnace roaring across metal surfaces instantly, violently bright, infernal. The second drone didn't need sophistication, only flame. It plunged into the vapor cloud, and the world erupted white. This wasn't a simple fire. It was a thermobaric blast, shockwave ripping machinery apart, steel bending like paper. The pumping hub turned to wreckage in seconds, a man-made volcano consuming everything caught in its breath under roaring heat, rising without mercy across burning sky violently. The tanker followed, its million-barrel load igniting in chain reaction, a towering inferno visible for miles. Special units scrambled, but containing a fuel volcano was futile. The port vanished into flames, rolling smoke into night sky, choking everything around fiercely without relief. Smoke climbed into the atmosphere, thick and black, forming a dark mountain on the horizon. American satellites confirmed the kill within hours, the heat signature blazing like a town-sized bonfire, humiliating Russia in territory. It claimed secure without warning or possible denial from command circles anywhere at all publicly. The destruction was only the beginning. Half of Crimea's fuel supply vanished overnight. Civilian gas stations in southern Russia reported shortages as the military hoarded every drop. Tanks became stranded, supply trucks stalled, and artillery units sat blind without drones or mobility. Unraveling Russia's frontline stability across multiple sectors shocked commanders into hesitation and doubt, instantly spiraling morale downward sharply and visibly everywhere rapidly. Armored battalions reduced to 70-ton statues, useless without fuel. Logistics froze. No ammunition, no repairs, no movement. Russia's war machine faltered under its own weight. Unable to push forward or regroup as Ukraine struck across 8 fronts, seizing openings created by paralysis inside enemy lines efficiently and relentlessly forward without pause. Officers delayed meetings, hesitated to issue orders, and questioned their own defenses. Trust shattered. In the vacuum, Ukraine advanced, exploiting every weakness exposed by fear and fire, burning through Russian confidence like acid cutting steel under stress severe beyond expectation across fronts rapidly unfolding.